hello. Oh, you're on the wrong
Hello.
side. Hello.
Did I throw you
There we
off?
go.
We were sitting
Yeah,
there
I was
talking
like,
for
this
like
is
10
very,
minutes.
very strange. It was really
We
weird.
were like talking for 10
And
minutes.
it didn't hit me until we actually went live, and then I was like, oh no, this isn't right.
Well, if you haven't been here before, buckle up. But if you have, welcome back to Let's Have a Fifi. Happy Pride Month and happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth. And I said earlier, this is the day that we celebrate so that people like me can live freely. Um, Though we found out 2 years later, some of us.
Right.
So if you've ever heard about somebody getting promoted like 2 years later, this is something like that, but worse. hmm
It's like,
Anyway,
oh, we actually gave you this promotion like 2 years ago. Didn't you
yeah, we
know?
changed your
Well,
job
since
title.
you weren't paying attention, then that's great. We won't actually back pay you, but
Yeah.
congratulations. Right.
Oh, that struggle is so real. Anyway, this is episode 19 of season 2. The what episode?
Of season 2.
Of 12, excuse me. What is I got hung up on what how do you say that word?
The penultimate? It's the penultimate
Yeah,
episode of season 12, which means it's next to the
educate
last.
me. What does that mean?
Penultimate means the next to the last.
Oh. See, even at this age I can still learn.
See?
All right.
So yes,
Okay.
this is the penultimate episode of season 12, which means that next week is the season finale. Which, if you subscribe to Patreon, you would have
Ta-da!
known that because we told our Patreon.
And if you
Fuck.
haven't checked your Patreon, then we just kind of ruined that for you. I'm so
Oh
sorry.
well, you've had days. I don't know what to do.
Sorry. So, with over 16,000 downloads, this is your Wednesday night conversation. As we're about to end the season soon, next week. Hi, yeah, educated, love it. I'm Felicia Fifi Minor, and over there,
This is not my
ah,
natural hair, but this is
I
a
would
wigs of. Ah, look at this! It's a wigs of a kind wig. Ah,
interesting,
ah.
interesting. And,
It's currently
uh-huh.
perched way the fuck back here.
We don't care how you wear it. We just know that you're wearing it. I'm not wearing a wigs of a kind, but I do regularly wear a wigs of a
You do,
kind wig
yes.
uh, on the show and beyond. Um, like Freddie said, you could have known that we were going to end the season just a little early if you had subscribed to us on Patreon, because we already told folks on Patreon that we're ending the season and reasons have been given. Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm? Maybe you'll learn something that you didn't know that we're not going to talk about even on here.
Mm-mm.
So with that being said, you should subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/let's have a Fifi. We like to thank our patrons, Brandon, Chris, and Michelle. Feel better, Michelle. D, Drake Jensen, Casey Starr, Carrie and Corey, Kim, Joan, Leanne, Nicole, and Shannon. All of you should go check your email
If you haven't already.
if you haven't already. Look for a little thing. A shout out to Wicks of a Kind for supporting us this season. It only took Freddie till the end of the season to wear a wig, but it's okay.
I know, and I'm like, why the fuck did I decide to do this now? It is really fucking hot, and so let me just put like fucking latex and shit all over my
On
face
your
and wear a
face.
wig. Like what I am questioning my choices this evening, but that's fine.
Well, with that being said, you too can support us like Guido Martin and Laura Renfro, who have supported us this season. They have supported us with sweaty faces because that's what I feel like is about to happen. Sweaty face is going to happen over there. You could support us as well by going to paypal.me/let's have a Fifi. And maybe we can figure out, maybe there will be something that you can help Freddie with. Mm-hmm. Choices. Maybe they make aesthetic like fans. Who knows?
For something this small, but not so much. If I was wearing like a giant head, yes, probably.
Maybe. Anyway,
Okay.
also, I did this. Um, if you
Oh, good for
subscribe
you.
to the texting community, you can text LHAF to 602-730-7379. And you should have been getting messages this week because I set them up last week. If you feel like they should
Oh,
be real time, I hardly remember.
don't tell anybody that they're not real time.
So
Just pretend that they're completely
they
real
are
time.
real. They are real time. Just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. If you're watching on Facebook, you can help us out a little bit by giving us stars. Yep, just as it sounds. We're just as confused as it sounds. But if you press the star button, uh, Facebook throws a little cash at us. And by little, I mean cents.
Mm.
And by cents, I mean I don't really think that we get a lot.
It's
But
fine.
it's something. Mm-hmm. So, how was your weekend?
My weekend was actually busy but good.
Oh,
So
good.
Thursday evening, we drove down to Bisbee because I was scheduled to do Drag Story Hour Friday morning at the Copper Queen Library, and it made more sense to go down Thursday than to try and get down there. And like, I'd have to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to do my face, so that we could drive down there. So we drove down.
Yikes. Oh, so you
So
stayed the
it's an
night.
easy, yeah, it's an easy drive. Drove down, had dinner. Um, and chilled out in the hotel. My partner had actually just had carpal tunnel surgery
How's that going?
on last Wednesday, so she was kind of recovering from that too, but she's doing all right. She's fine. Um,
Hmm.
and it was actually, the story hour went really really well. There were a couple people like beforehand that were online that were being annoying and bitchy and whatever, but most of them that were
But
bitching
not enough to.
didn't actually live in Bisbee. So we had zero protesters the day of. However, um,
Hmm.
the day after, Copper Queen and as well as the librarians both received bomb and death threats after the story hour, which is complete fucking bullshit.
Oh
Like,
no.
it's so fucking stupid. The luckily the librarians are like, they it hasn't scared them off. Like, they're still like, no, or in fact, you just gone and made sure that we do this more often, kind of thing.
Take
Like,
that.
they're,
Come
you know
back
what I mean? It's
tomorrow.
like, right. um People are fucking stupid. um and then on Saturday we didn't do much. Like, we drove back from Bisbee on Friday. um Walked around a little bit Friday during the day and had lunch and then drove back. Saturday we didn't do much. We weren't super productive, mainly because like my partner only had one hand that was useful and I was tired, so we didn't do shit. Sunday, um we went to a little like community theater play the friend of mine was in. It was super cute. It was like, folks that are theater nerds will get the reference. It was like Waiting for Godot meets a Black Mirror episode. It was
Oh,
a little like original play, kind of about, but not really about, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. The film critics. It was like a weird fever dream. But it was good. It was super
huh.
cute. So I'm glad that we were able to do that.
What was the name
Um,
of it? And
it
you
was called
said,
Roger and Gene.
and it's done playing.
Yes, it was only like it was only a couple of weekends, so it was like a super quick little thing. There were only 3 people in the entire cast, so, but it was super fun. There was like little bits. There was some gay shit. There was, so it was like a weird, trippy, like Black Mirror episode, but it was really cute and it was done really well. So I was
Gay
glad we
people
were able to do that.
exist.
I haven't been to theater in a long time, so that's good. How was your weekend?
You said gay people exist.
Mm, mm. Also, I have discovered today that we have failed at parenting. Um, my our oldest son is currently in the
Brandon.
living room. Um, that's funny. Our oldest son is currently in the living room with his girlfriend, and was trying to say that they were 18 so they can go to burlesque shows and like some of the drag shows and like the drag show Fan Fusion and stuff, and was trying to describe burlesque, and I feel like we have failed now as parents because he kept saying like, well, it's like stripping, but we're like, no, no. Oh, they went to a movie.
No.
Well, we're like, no, that's not. And then they were like, well, it's like stripping but drag. No, that's not it either. So I don't know. I don't know where. I feel like it's just because he hasn't been listening, because I'm pretty sure that we've talked about what burlesque actually is, but it's fine.
It's very
It's fine.
choreographed, and stripping is just.
It's not just stripping. It's
It's
fine. At some
methodical.
point, I no 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 no. You, my partner, cannot tell me
Wait,
that I failed
I feel like
because
she was a part of the world before. Like, she could have
she
started
was
the
going to burlesque
conversation
shows
before.
before she met me. So
Very that. Very that. She was
I've only been
there.
around for 4 years, whereas, so this is not just a me
So
problem. I feel
technically,
like that
you should
is
have
like,
been laying the groundwork, is what we're saying. So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
what we're saying is,
abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.
I can't even jump into this one because I wasn't
No,
even there. So,
no, no.
is this furry
Eh,
night? If you want it to be, it could be. Not a lot of fur
I
going
have
on
a
there.
giant Care Bear head, but I'm not wearing the Care Bear head because it's really fucking hot. This is hot enough.
It reminds me of Beast on the TV series Beauty and the Beast.
I would take the
That's
wig off, and then I would just sort of look uh like a Sphinx
a
cat,
hairless cat.
the hairless cat. But the problem is that I would need to put something on that would hide my actual ears, because otherwise I would have two sets of ears, which is just weird. So I'd still need to put
In this
something
world,
on that would like
yeah,
that would
yeah.
like that would, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? That would like, yeah. So hence the wig. But Brandon, if you like go to my Facebook, you'll see the full get up, and if you're if you play Skyrim, you'll get the reference. So just
I feel like they will get it.
probably. So how was your weekend?
I feel like I did not do as much, but for me, that's a good thing. Um, what did we do? Oh, we had a play date for a little bit,
Oh, that's fun.
and then went to and the girls had doctor's appointments. Um, Let me just say, I'm not a fan. Not a fan um, of children getting shots ever. Um, and I have the worst reaction. You know how like you're supposed to like be there and you're supposed to be like strong and not flinch or not, be like, oh, it's okay, you'll be all right. I'm not the one. I am totally a crybaby. I totally flip out. A, because I don't like needles. And B, I feel like I'm watching them get hurt, and then I'm like, I'm not protecting them, and then so like all the emotion is not hidden on my face whatsoever. Um, I become yeah. mm, I don't even know what the wording of it is. It's just that I become just this gushy ball of emotion, and I'm like, I'm not good at this. I am so not good at this. It took me forever to get over myself getting needles, and then, ugh.
See,
I
I don't
mean,
like
as you get
shots,
old,
but I can get tattooed all day long.
yeah. I mean, I've never gotten a tattoo, but I feel like I have watched people get tattoos, and I'm fine. But I feel like I see a needle, it's over for me. And then watching
Yeah,
them get it.
I'm definitely not a fan of any sort of injection type of thing.
But
I
the
don't like
weird
getting
thing
my
is,
blood
like, I start
drawn.
crying, I, like crying. So I'm not comforting them. I am like literally crying alongside them. And so like it just becomes a hot mess. And so mm, not for you either. Or are you saying like it you're okay with needles? Because I if you all have advice on how to be like more stern faced, I would
Yeah,
love it.
I would say just own it.
And
Like
so Scott
I I
laughs because he's like,
I
you
honestly
should be able
think
to handle this.
it's I think it's okay honestly to like not like cuz like
I just don't
I
want the
mean
kids to feel
kids
worse.
well, I know, but I mean I think if you talk to them, I think it's, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like needles either, but I have to do these things just like you have to do these things so that we can be safe and healthy. You know what I mean? And it's like
That's a way
and
of
it's
putting
okay to
it.
cry. It's okay to cry, it's okay to to really hate this, and I totally get it, but these are things that we have to do so that we can be responsible and that we can be healthy and we can be safe.
They totally know that I cry, so there's no hiding that.
Yes, it's a you know if you
So
just I
there's
think
that.
if you just sort of put it if you just sort of put it into just put it into context, and you know what I mean, because
Oh,
then it's like
Laura says
it's
quite the
totally okay.
opposite. Laura says
Yeah.
blood draws are okay, but
Nope.
tattoos not for you.
I'm like sitting there and then I take my blood and I'm like, why do you need like 47 vials of my blood? Like, I'm pretty sure at this point you don't need that much.
Or they're
Like,
like, so go ahead and drink a lot of water and make sure that you're like doing all this stuff. I'm like, well, why did you take like half of my body supply of blood?
I think unlike a lot of people, I feel like my veins have actually gotten better as I've gotten older. Cause I used to be a hard stick and I still am to an extent, but it's better now
Right.
than it actually was a few I
I'm
don't know how
essentially
many
12.
times like a few years back people would go to either draw blood or put in an IV, and my vein they would destroy my
Your
veins, they
veins
would blow
disappeared.
them every single time. Like that mine used to move actually. They'd go to uh they'd go to like they'd like, oh, here's one right here, and then they'd be like, wait, where'd it go? Like they'd go to stick it and it'd have like rolled underneath something else, and like it'll hide like so but they've gotten better, like my
Huh.
veins have gotten better, so it makes things a lot easier. I used to literally almost pass out either with myself getting blood draws or watching somebody else get blood drawn. It was never a good
Ugh.
thing.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. You have a high pain tolerance, Laura? I do not.
I mean, I have a high pain tolerance. I have a massive back piece as far as a tattoo that's, getting done,
Yeah.
but
You can see it on
but the
Patreon.
needles are very different. Like they're teeny tiny little needles as opposed to like this
And it's
giant
rapid
fucking needle that
fire.
someone is jamming into your vein. Like
Yeah, I
plus
hate when they show it
the,
to me too. That's
right.
why
I'm like, no,
they're
no.
like, oh, we're about to do this.
I'm like, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. Plus,
Oh my
the
gosh.
results from a tattoo are much cooler than a blood draw. Like, I don't. All I get from a blood
Yeah,
draw
that is
is like
depressing.
bruising and shit. Whereas with a tattoo, at least I have something pretty. Like.
Or the doctor calls you the next day and says, here's what we found. And you're like,
Mm,
no, no, hang up. Hang
yeah,
up. That's
that
not
never
what
really
we're here
happens with
for.
a tattoo. I don't get bad news when my tattoo artist doesn't call me later and be like, hey, so tattoos
Yeah,
over blood
that
draws.
happens.
Um.
But we encourage going to the doctor and maintaining your health, kind of.
Yes, absolutely. And we
Just know that,
encourage that
say I've
it's
gone to the
okay
doctor,
to,
I'm
let your kids know that, you don't like needles and things. Just
mhm,
explain that needles and vaccines and all these things are important because that's how we create a safe society for people. That's how we're responsible.
So to continue my weekend, sorry, I got off a little track. I think it's interesting because I am the most flamboyant, or one of the most flamboyant people. Because we said like if you're good, we'll go to McDonald's, and they were good, and so I yes, we let them run around in the cesspool of the McDonald's. But
And that's why we
and
have vaccines.
yes. But my entertainment came from not the children playing in the play area, but the adults being very interested in the two men that have two babies or younger children.
Oh God.
And
Oh Lord.
definitely me, full set of nails, and they're living their best life and I'm living mine.
Plus
They
you're
just
interracial.
yeah. And I live in like one of the most conservative areas of the county, and so they were fit to be tied, and I did not. Usually what I do is I like kind of back off, like not saying anything, because I too like to observe them as much as they're observing me. But I did not. I wouldn't play it in the play area. I was living my life, and they were just their eyes, and I was like, oh my god, this is still happening. I totally forget because I don't go out to places that often, but it's still happening, including your local McDonald's, folks. So, yeah,
Oh
that's
my
fun.
God, you
And
didn't hit your fucking fire alarm.
no, I didn't get back before the kids went to sleep. Um,
Ugh.
but also, we had a good turnout today for drag bingo at Drink Me Tea Room, and so this is where this outfit came from. And then Juneteenth virtual story hour premiered at 6 o'clock as well. So if you have a chance, I will post that here a little later on my Facebook and all the other channels. But yeah, so there we have it. My uneventful but eventful life story. You're welcome. But speaking of living in the
More
conservative part of town,
listen, maybe if we're lucky, the finale, the season finale, we won't have the fucking beeping.
my sister and husband get looks when they come to Arizona. My brother-in-law is an amazing man who happens to be African American. That's what I say.
Speaking of, okay, so my tip tonight, I wanted to have a discussion about something that I was seeing things like mention of it kind of floating around, and I finally like had the wherewithal to Google it because I didn't want to because I was afraid
What?
of what I was going to see. So I
This is
decided to
real.
go ahead. Oh yeah, I decided to go ahead and Google it because yeah. So I'm gonna talk about this thing called Project 2025.
Oh, we're gonna go into
You
this.
laugh. So
Yeah.
the right wing is always talking about like the gay agenda, blah, 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 blah. They have literally published what they actually call in the text the conservative agenda. They
No
call it
way.
Project 2025. And like I said, I've been hearing about it. I've been seeing things kind of cross my feed here and there about it on Facebook and things. So I finally decided that I was going to look it up and see what it is. So
Hmm.
here's the thing. If you aren't concerned about it now, you will be, and you should be. They call it the Presidential Transition Project. And what it is literally a written
Oh, that's
manifesto
scarier.
with steps on how to turn this country into an autocracy with a dictator at the helm. There is no maybe or supposition. It says that there will be a conservative president in January, which in itself should be concerning. It's not if we win, it's we will win. When there is, not if there is. It's when. The
Oh
project
God.
aims to replace tens of thousands of civil servants in DC with conservatives to help further the objectives of the next Republican president. Some of the things that are in this manifesto. So, it adopts a maximalist version of Article 2 of the Constitution, giving the president absolute power after inauguration.
What? Oh, wait, go back. Go back.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Absolute power.
Absolute power.
For those that may not understand what that means, tell them.
It meaning literally absolute power. The president will have the ability to do whatever the fuck he wants.
So
Period.
essentially, there are checks and
Absolute
balances.
power.
There are checks and balances.
Right now, there are checks and balances to keep things in place. Supposedly, it doesn't always work well, but there are checks and balances which are there to prevent a dictatorship, essentially. And this basically says that, no, fuck all those checks and balances. It also talks about slashing funding for the Department of Justice. It talks about dismantling the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. It talks about abolishing the Department of Education. It talks about cutting funding for climate research.
So what will be left?
It talks nothing. The National Institutes of Health would be redone and rewritten basically along conservative values. It talks about infusing the government with elements of Christianity.
Which is already happening.
It's already happening, but this would be to a greater extent. It would criminalize pornography.
Well, there would be a lot of Republicans that will be in jail.
It would. That would be interesting, considering.
Statistically, more Republicans are watching porn than Democrats.
It talks about removing laws against discrimination based on gender and sexual orientation, as well as removing DEI programs and affirmative action. And it would immediately deploy the military for domestic law enforcement. In other words, martial law.
Yikes.
Monarchies and there are still checks and balances when it comes to a monarchy.
If they still have to go through.
There's parliament. Somebody. There's things like there's even when it comes to a monarchy,
they have a prime minister too, don't they?
Right. Yeah. And the prime minister, when it comes to the UK and things, usually the prime minister is the one that actually
the king
makes
doesn't
most
just
of the
come down and say
monarchs are generally figureheads, and generally speaking. So basically what this project does is it's a Christian nationalist movement determined to destroy this country, while turning it into the next Nazi Germany. Literally the next Nazi Germany. Hitler had absolute power. Mussolini had absolute power. These fascists had absolute power. And that is what the conservative right is hoping to push with this agenda with the next Republican president. If you don't think at this point that voting is important, think again. If you think that voting a third party is the way to go in November, think again. If you agree with anything Project 2025 is promoting, go ahead and report yourself for hate speech and threats of violence, because that's literally what it is. Literally what it is.
Yes, and it speaks to there's a bill right now that's being tossed around that is kind of like what was that bill that led to several police departments getting sued because they pulled over Hispanics just for the hell of it to see if they had papers. There's a bill floating around right now, like not even joking. right now that people are afraid of, because it is in the step of what is being said here. What could be the next thing is that we all could be in danger. It'll go back to I don't know if you've watched several documentaries about like how the Jews slowly realized what was happening. And some of the people that weren't Jews were, yeah, driving when not white. Uh, the Jews realized that, like, when their friends were like, "You need to get out of here," there were some of them that knew what was happening. Like, if you were
Mm-hmm.
non-Jew, they were sending out like newsletters
Yeah.
and letting
Yeah.
people know that this is the next step that's in basically in Hitler's plan. And so when they found out, they were like, there were some people that like were like rescuing the Jews before they got shipped into, you know, the concentration camps. So
There were underground movements trying to relocate a lot of as many of the Jewish population as they could out of Europe
mhm.
before World War II. Um, it, it, this is
Something you don't learn
this
in
is kind of like that,
school.
except for the fact that when it comes to the Christian nationalists and the fascists here, they're a lot less quiet about it.
The
Before the
radicalism in
start of
this.
before the start of World War II, yes, there was anti-Jewish propaganda and there was all of that was floating around, but it was a little more.
Quiet.
Yeah, it wasn't as loud as when after Hitler took over. Like it's always been there. Like the anti-Semitism has always been there, but it was a little more subtle than after
Well,
Hitler took
there's
power,
all
after he
this.
published Mein Kampf. These people are not being fucking subtle. These people are
They basically put it online for the public to read.
right. They want and what's
And how is the
what's
media not all over this?
you've seen our news sources don't care. Like there's so
So driven by the hysteria, the
uh,
chaos, the
it's not even that. They don't even give a shit. Like, okay, so I'm gonna go to. You would think that this would be a big thing, right?
mhm.
Um, I am on the CNN homepage right now. Um, let's see. We have the thing where Louisiana says that the Ten Commandments must be displayed in every classroom in schools.
Every classroom.
Mm-hmm. That receive state funding. So basically every single school now in Louisiana has to display the 10 commandments. So do you remember what I
You
just
can't
said about
infusing the government with elements of
infusing things with
Christianity.
elements of Christianity? So there's that. Um Dolly
Mhm.
Parton, like there's really not much.
Mm.
RFK Jr. raises $2.6 million.
Oh boy, another one that
Like
needs to.
there's nothing. Like you have to dig basically to find any information on Project 2025, and it's distressing because like I'm not saying that civil war is looming, but I'm also not saying it. World wars
Oh,
have been
also
waged for less than this,
they're
and
passing
this
a
country,
law or a bill.
right? And this
Hmm.
country is not as unreachable as it has been in the past, because in the past the reason why this country has managed to remain relatively unscathed with the exception of Pearl Harbor is because the last 2 world wars that have happened in a time when there was no way to be able to get troops really over here without, like you'd have to either launch a full scale like naval attack, which by the time you did that, we'd have noticed and been like, yo, what the fuck? And
Mm-hmm.
planes weren't capable of making the flight all the way over to the mainland without
Well,
needing
now they use
to
drones.
refuel. Like it wasn't going to work. So now the fact that we literally have the fascist right publishing manifestos that are designed to take everything that this country is supposedly built on and destroy it so that we become yet another Nazi Germany. Like,
Interesting.
how long would it take, do you think, for other countries to declare war on a fascist dictatorship?
Minutes.
Like,
He
I
says the oath and a bomb is dropped.
yeah, and now with there's drones and there's all these other things. It's like it's not inconceivable that
I do also want to bring to the realization that like Amazon has drones now.
mm,
Um, they have weapons that are about those size.
mm, yep, it can all be done
And
with
so,
remote control at this point.
yeah,
Like,
little Mr. Putin and his gang can, set up little
especially
remote
with Putin
control
going and having discussions now and
Mario
meetings with North
Kart
Korea, like,
titles.
and we'll probably just join
Yeah,
in with the other fascist dictators because that's where we're at right now.
that's
And
what we do
if
now.
the fact that more people aren't more concerned about everything that is happening in this country, like literally everything that is happening in this country, like the fact that people just seems like very blasé about it, should be concerning in itself. So here's the thing: if you feel up to it, do your own research on Project 2025. But I would suggest only doing it if you are mentally and emotionally able to handle it. It's gross, it's disturbing, and it's fucking terrifying because it literally takes away everything that this country is supposedly
Also,
built
some of
on.
the people that you may have elected may have participated in writing it.
I, at this point, if anybody votes Republican, I can't even begin to try and like educate you at this point because now it's just willful
It's
ignorance
over.
and like I can't. And this goes back to what I posted the other day about if you say, well, you don't do politics or you're not political
Yeah.
or I don't
Or
vote.
politics aren't for me.
If right, if you are one of those people that say that, first of all, fuck you. Don't care. Fuck you. And must be nice to have all that fucking privilege. Because I
Or
sure
not
as
know
fuck
what's
don't have
coming
that
to you,
privilege.
because a lot of a lot of people I interact with are queer. So if you're supporting right-wing agenda, good luck to you. Because I'd
Right.
rather die knowing that I'm living by what I believe, than to pretend, which I think
Right.
could be more harmful to you. And you rather just live in a world where everything is white and people tell you what
It's
to
gonna
do.
be like it's gonna be George Orwell's 1984 at this point if we allow it
Pretty
because
much page by page.
yeah, like it. And if you're okay with that, also fuck you. Yeah, I'm like I am at this point. I don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck. Like
Hmm.
you're obviously privileged enough to not have to worry about any of this affecting you. Congratulations, but that's Like, if you think they have your
What's really
best interests at heart, no, they don't. The only
Mhm.
thing that the Republicans care about are making the rich richer. That's it. Nothing they have planned is going to benefit, the average individual. Nothing. So if you think the Republicans are going to like come in and, everybody's going to all of a sudden be making, $200,000 a year, and everybody's going to get a really nice house, and homelessness is not going to be a thing anymore, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not a thing. It's not a thing. The
By
Republicans don't give
charity.
a fuck. They don't give a fuck. So if you think that they have any of your interests in heart, no, they don't. They don't. So good luck with that if you decide that you want to be that guy. But also then see yourself out, because I do not have time for you, and I don't have time to try and educate you with your
And things like
willful
prides will
ignorance.
disappear.
Everything. All of it will disappear. Like, there will
Don't
be
try to
nothing.
change your name because that will disappear.
Healthcare, education, like, it'll
Also,
be
if you go
like,
to your
oh,
doctor
you're
and say, I'm having
celebrating,
sex.
somebody posts something about Juneteenth, we're gonna hunt you down.
Mhm.
Like, no.
And to read that it's a federal holiday and some
Some people are so mad about
government
it.
organizations are not observing the holiday.
Some of these people, like, it's like, it's a people, couple of news places have been like, the post office is going to be closed on Juneteenth. But like, oh my god, why? Because it's a federal holiday, and post office are closed on federal holidays.
Yeah, like, why aren't people off? Don't get up. But, POC is secondary, I guess. Because if you're not white, Christian, and
Right.
cis, then
I saw a comment earlier that said something about I don't know, that it said something about, like, why are we bothering with like people that are already dead? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Do you celebrate Memorial Day? Or 4th of July? Because all those people are dead.
yep.
They're all dead. Literally, Memorial Day is for people that have literally died. Like, so why
Gosh.
are we bothering with them? Like, they're already dead. Why do we care? Why not just
Also
scrap that holiday?
President's Day.
We can only have holidays that have to do with people that are still alive.
So if they die, then we don't get the holiday anymore. Wow.
So to get rid of Memorial Day because they're already dead. 4th of July, all those people are fucking dead. They're all dead.
Wow.
President's
Nope, no
Day, most of
celebrating
them
dead
are already
presidents
dead.
either.
There's only like 3 of them that are still alive. So, they're all dead.
Is Carter still holding?
All dead.
Carter's still holding on.
I think so. I think he's almost done, but yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What?
Anyway. So what I have I did not put it on here, but what I have for the WTF is I feel like the weirdest big payback just came back. Is that speaking of privileged people, Justin Timberlake was arrested for driving intoxicated last night. Oh, now they have video of it.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's horrible. But yeah, and so I have been busy today just posting memes of Janet Jackson and Britney Spears smiling underneath them. Call it trolling if you must, but I feel like his mugshot is like the most well kept like picture I've ever seen from somebody that has a mugshot.
I find it so interesting. Like, people, like, there's been it's like fake news. People are like, oh, that had cocaine and alcohol and poppers and Truvada, and I'm like, okay. First of all, and they're like, God, he must have been in a bathhouse. I'm like, okay, all right. First of all, pretty sure poppers aren't going to be like detectable because it's head cleaner. It's like VCR cleaner. Like, you're not going to be able to like test for that. That's not like. But also, if, and this is a big if because I somehow doubt it, but even if he had Truvada in his system, which Truvada
Mhm.
is PrEP, Truvada is not just for gay cis men. In fact, if you want to be responsible and you are having sex with multiple partners, you should be on some sort of PrEP regardless of whether you are gay or straight or
Who said it was a gay
cisgender or
pill or a
trans.
drug?
Oh, that's they just assumed because he had Truvada that it must have been he must have been in a bathhouse
But even
somewhere.
on the
Like,
commercial, they have like a guy and a girl.
yeah, but it's because HIV is still the gay disease, so
Oh, here we go.
right. So yeah, no, like for those of you that are first of all buying that, which I don't buy it, I think it's a bunch of horse shit.
Even if he
But
was gay, who cares? He was driving
right,
irresponsibly.
who the fuck cares? The fact is that this person who has a lot of fucking money can get any fucking Uber he wants, hire a
But
fucking
drove drunk
limo,
anyway.
was driving under the influence.
That's
That's
why
the
it's
thing
big
that you
news.
should be focusing on. Like, not anything that he may have else that he may have had in his system, because it doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is the fact that he was driving under the influence when he has so much fucking money and could have literally hired any fucking car. Like,
Yeah, even if he was at a bathhouse, he should have called an Uber or got a black car or something. Because
something. Like,
yeah.
so Trump
Oh
was
wait,
in Racine, Wisconsin yesterday, and during his
but why?
rally, because a rally, you know,
He's
because
not
they haven't
paying his
sentenced
court
him
cases
yet,
back.
which fucking 34 fucking felons. Like, do something. They need to put his ass in fucking jail already. During his rally, he made over 24 false claims. I love it when they fact check him, even though nobody pays attention to it. I just think it's funny. Including that he won Wisconsin in 2020, which he did not. He actually lost by more than 20,000 votes. So there's that.
Whoa.
But these people don't seem to have any concept of actual reality. They just do whatever without, like, they'll just make any fucking claim. They don't give a fuck. Blatantly false. They don't care. They don't care. None
And
of them give a fuck.
what I don't get is how nobody like does like a correction. Like even news outlets don't say like here is what the I take that back. Some news outlets have like a little fact check box at the bottom of articles
Mm-hmm.
about him. And maybe some other ones, but the ones that I'm particularly reading are to stay ahead of the fuckery. And so they do a little fact checking and making sure that people know. And sometimes Facebook now is starting to have their AI fact check. At one point
Except
before,
now I'm literally seeing people post stuff and it says
uh,
it's being created by AI. It's like, no, it's apparently Facebook
oh,
now thinks everything is being created by AI.
especially if you press
Literally
the AI
everything.
button by accident. Yes, that's a programming error that needs to be fixed. But so uh, how we were just talking about this. How are the ignorant so powerful?
Because they play to other ignorant people who are willing to just accept anything that they're told without questioning.
We have
And that's
no
that's
challenging
the
happening
that's
at
the
all.
problem. Like, that's the problem, is that
Nobody's challenging anything.
these these these
Fools.
ignorant white folks, and it is ignorant white folks, 100% ignorant white folks, that these Republicans are feeding them bullshit. I'm like, you realize that with all the Republican presidents that have been around, none of them have helped you, right? None of them. You're not rich. Trump had 4 years to make you rich. He didn't make you rich. But you're just gonna
Mm-mm.
feed, like, you have your head so far stuck up his ass that you cannot see the actual truth. Like, it I don't understand it. I mean, I do, and to an extent, because what happens is it's the right buzzwords, right? So it's like when it comes to the rural, the poor white, like they keep saying that now these white folks are the minority. Poor white folks are white folks in general are the minorities, and all the immigrants are coming and taking away all of their jobs and
Well,
pushing
get
them
up and do
out.
them.
And I'm gonna say this I'm gonna say this again. I've said it before. I'm gonna say it again. Mohammed, the brain surgeon, is not taking away Bubba's job at the fucking
Dairy
mechanic.
Queen.
Is not. Trust me, not taking away your job. And the jobs, like the more menial jobs that the immigrants are doing, are the ones that even the poorest fucking white folks don't want to fucking do. They don't want to be out in the fields.
They don't want to be
They don't want to be doing
janitors.
all that shit. They don't want to be cleaning stuff. They don't want to be doing all that shit. So
Hi,
the immigrants do
Christina.
it. But
Christina
still the
says
immigrants are taking away everything. No, they're not fucking taking anything.
Trump gives a false sense of superiority.
And that's like it's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking insane.
So I read a long time ago, going off of this, about how, and what you just said, like how they feel like, and I say they, and I'm using general terms, so walk with me here. That folks that are white did not like that we were now mixing races, that we weren't keeping the bloodline clean, and that now that we mixed all of these things, now the culture, I didn't know there was, but the culture would disintegrate into oblivion or whatever. I don't know, like we're freaking aliens or something. And so the fear there is the racist fear, and then on top of that fear is, all the things that he's talking about are built on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
as we have discussed, that there are prime roots in America where white supremacy is the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
And here are some folks that are like, I mean, I'm in an interracial relationship, and I'm sure that some of those folks are like, what the hell?
And the Project 2025 manifesto basically drives all of that home. That document is geared towards the people. First of all, most people aren't going to read it because there's a lot. They're going to skim it, or they're going to Google it, and they're going to get the Cliff's Notes version, and they're going to be like, yes, this is fucking awesome. Let's make Christianity like all the things. Let's, forget separation of church and state. We're going to do all of that. Yes, let's criminalize pornography. Let's get rid of the Department of Education. We don't need Department of Education because they just teach woke shit. Like, what they don't realize, of course, or they don't want to realize it, is that as much as they think that it's going to like get rid of the queers, it's really putting everybody who is not in the 1% at a major disadvantage, and basically in a position to essentially be exterminated, because that's what that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who doesn't fit into this neat little box, we don't need you. Like, we need your votes. So you can be poor and white,
Also, we
and you
need
can
your
vote.
money.
Right. But then after that, we're done. We don't need you. So everything that's on here definitely isn't going to help you.
So also, too, building on top of what I just said, is that it became really strong after Barack Obama was president for 8 years, nonetheless, that middle America complained that they felt like they weren't talked to, they were talked at by a black man. We can't have the uprising of black people. We can't have them being successful. We can't have them earning millions of dollars.
He's
and
basically the uppity, insert N word here. Like,
yeah.
that's...
And so when they saw him in office for so long, there are notes about this. So I'm not making this up. I wish I was. But they saw that kind of like what they're doing. They saw like people of color doing better, and they were like, "Oh no, 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 no." And on top of that, white supremacy. Here we go. We got to squash
This
them
is what
down.
happens when you teach them to read.
Yeah, don't teach them to read. Don't let them go to law school.
Mm-mm.
Take affirmative
No,
action away. You don't make it
no,
equal opportunity for them.
nope, nope. Should
Don't
have
do
just kept them
this.
all slaves. Would have been much easier. Then we don't have to worry about celebrating another federal holiday that about dead people.
But yeah, so I know that a lot of people are like, I'm exhausted. I can't handle another election. I understand. But if you don't put in the fight, we will be fighting even harder after the
It
election.
it. I find myself wondering, and I don't always I generally don't say this out loud because it's not something that I like to think about, but it's something in my own head when I see shit like this and when I see the fascist conservative right wing people like start to get all crazy. It's like, at what point do we arm ourselves and form our own militia? Like, at what point, you know what I mean? Like, at what point do we talk about, okay, well, if this happens, here's a safe house, or if this happens, this is where we go, or if this
Mhm.
happens, all right, this is our plan to get to Canada. Like, we people haven't had to think about this in what,
200,
300
300
years,
years.
almost 300 years,
Mhm.
which is not that long, mind you. But
But the cycle
now,
has already been driven out. Like those
right,
people are
right.
gone.
So it's like, so now it's like, okay, well, at 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 what point are things like, another sort of underground railroad, like, when is that a possibility?
Oh, this is a good
Is
one.
like, is that like, are things like, a safe train, as it were, to like to get folks to fucking Canada again? Like, I'm sure Canada at this point is like, Jesus Christ, really? Like, again, we have to do this again? Like,
Hmm. Like
like, how
America,
many
get it
times do we have to
together.
save you people? Like, but and with this manifesto that has been published, it's like, that's why I'm not saying
Which
that
is
civil
crazy.
war is
People are
happening
thinking
tomorrow,
this
but I'm also not saying that civil war is going to happen tomorrow. Like, there is a very distinct possibility, if you look at the way things are going, that like things that we probably don't want to have to think about are things that we may have to think about in the relatively near future. So
quickly.
just gonna throw that out there.
Christina says with Obama, they didn't have a president who spoon fed them the bullshit. They had to think for themselves, and they got tired. Pretty much.
Their
Big
single
words.
brain cell was working overtime.
D says, I just hate that we have to have conversations about what to do if this country is no longer safe for my loved ones. I feel like I had conversations because my parents almost they got out before the Gulf War.
Mm.
Um, they were both in the military. Um, but we had conversation or we've had conversations since because I was like 5 when the Gulf War was about to kick off. And I feel like when I was maybe a little bit older but still young enough, um, that we did have conversations that like if my parents had decided to stay in for like another term or so, what would have happened and all this stuff. So I feel like in my growing up, I had that conversation maybe because more so because my parents could have been deployed at any point in my childhood, but I feel like it should be a conversation just like they were having conversations like maybe in the 50s, right? 50s about like where to take shelter if a bomb hit. I and the thing is that we've gotten so entitled and so um, fortunate. And in our own case, we have been very privileged to live in a place where nobody's like trying to fight for their life like how they are overseas. We've gotten to a place where we become entitled, and I feel like this is very much so that because we are free, we deserve everything.
Right.
And in my head, I have never felt like everything belongs to me. Um, and I'm not sure if that's because I grew up with a father that is uh, not from this country, but when my mom was from the South, they didn't have stuff. And so I wonder if that's something. Um, the privilege in having everything is what you pass on to your kids um, until they have nothing and discover it on their own. Um, but I feel like we're in for a rude awakening if this is the privilege that we choose to throw around because we haven't had a war, because we haven't been knocked off of our high horse, and because no country has come over and done things in a while, like since 2001, um, when the terrorists decided to show their face. But I I hope that it doesn't get that extreme that we have to fight each other.
Right.
But if the cycle of history is correct, we will. And I don't know if I want to be around for that. Sorry.
I know. Hopefully, I can get the fuck out of this country before that happens. But no.
Who knows? We may be doing the show from Mars. Who knows?
Right. We haven't gotten
But
that far yet, because that would still be a U.S. territory. So I'd feel like I don't want to be in a U.S.
shit.
territory.
So yeah, there's that. Whew. Yeah. And better, but bad news. Um, baseball great Willie Mays died Tuesday at the age of 93. He played 23 major league seasons, which is a very long time. Had 660 home runs. At the time he was when he was playing, he was only second to Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. 10 runs were added to his career total after the MLB integrated the Negro League stats into record books, which is great. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff is happening now. Like I think I read that. Um, like people are starting to incorporate when they had the minor leagues for the color folks and all these other things that they kind of heading in that same direction, aren't we? Anyway, they're just integrating, like they're telling their whole story instead of
Right.
what they think should be on the
Which
record.
is, it's actually great that they finally decided to get the Negro League stats in there, because it actually means that a lot of the black players that weren't allowed to play in
Mhm.
the white leagues are actually able to
Get some
be
recognition.
right. They're actually getting some recognition. They're actually being put into the Hall of Fame because their stats are better than a lot of the white folks, but it didn't count before. I'm just annoyed that it took this long. Like, why the fuck did it take this long to do that? Like, you anyway.
Because woke culture, which is
Right.
regular culture as any other person would know it,
Mm-hmm.
is bothersome to a lot of people, just like gun control. We're not trying to
Right.
take your guns, but we're making it a little more efficient if you get one.
You're trying to
Huh?
make it?
No?
It's
No?
stupid. It's fine.
Okay. With that being said, be safe out there. If you're going to Pride events, go with a person.
I mean, I still maintain, use the buddy system if you're going to the bar, if you're going to Pride events, whatever it is that you're doing, use the buddy system. Don't go places alone. Be smart about shit. You think that would be common sense, but a lot of people don't have the common sense.
Anyway.
What
night,
gigs do we have coming up?
So we have the Juneteenth virtual drag story hour that premiered at 6 p.m. today.
That is on the
with
Drag Story
me-
Hour YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's with Sassy DeMornay. Anyhow, SD. I can't get that to roll off my tongue. I cannot. Sassy SD DeMornay. Because my brain wants to say Sassy D DeMornay. I don't know. But with them, and they had their. Oh, that's what I did too. I totally forgot. Whoa, that's rude. I went to step down on Sunday. Sorry about that. Don't be mad. So I returned back to Drink Me Tea Room for bingo because we had one tonight. We're taking July off. Definitely need a break of some sort, but August is when we will be returning. Dates will be released here in a couple weeks. Then tomorrow I have drag bingo with the Meeting Planners International Arizona chapter. We're doing it Barbie style. And of course, because I love pink, I will be wearing pink.
I would expect nothing less.
And then on Friday, we have a sold out crowd for the drag bingo and cats at the Phoenix Cat Cafe. We have verified.
Mm-hmm. I told her to let us know if anything opens up, but so far we're still sold out. So if you didn't get your tickets, we told you to get your tickets.
That includes the 2 people that sent me messages this week. We're talking to you. And then next Friday, I will be at Tom's Tavern in Winslow for Winslow Pride presents Transmission Drag Show hosted by Zara Stevens.
That's fine.
What now?
Nothing.
I could be an ally and be performing in the show.
You could, yes.
Not could. I am an ally. I am an ally.
You are an ally, yes.
I literally have gone through this process with you and journey. I literally got the card the first day. But as far as July goes, I'm okay if I don't get anything for July at this point, because
see, and for me, July is my birthday month, so if anybody wants to book me for my birthday month, that would be great.
Oh, you don't have anything booked for it?
No.
Usually you do.
No.
Do we need to have friends in different places book you in other states?
Probably.
Hint, hint. Hint, hint. I like to go too, if you don't mind. Yeah, but so next week will be our last episode of season 12. Not our last episode. Watch our Patreon for the discussion that we had about it. And I think you'll learn a lot just by watching that. Yeah. I don't want to give it away. Yeah. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us for your Wednesday night conversation. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching on the replay. And with more than 16,000 downloads, thank you for listening on the podcast. We will see you next Wednesday for your Wednesday night conversation. Good night.
Good night.